Maya Rahman's life was a symphony of ticking clocks and unanswered phone calls. Every day bled into the next. White walls, half-drunk cups of coffee, and blueprints sprawled across her desk like battle maps. She loved her work as an interior designer, or at least she had once, back when ideas had felt like fireworks. Now, under the fluorescent lights of Khan & Co. Interiors, she mostly felt like an exhausted machine. The office was quiet tonight, just the dull hum of the city filtering through the windows. She pinched the bridge of her nose and leaned back in her chair, eyes fluttering shut. Another 14-hour day, another deadline I'm barely breathing through. Her phone buzzed on the table. Sarah Ahmed, the only person in Maya's life who never seemed to carry the weight of the world. "Maya, tell me you're not still at the office." "Of course I am," Maya mumbled. "Some of us actually have to work to pay rent." "Ugh, tragic. Listen, I have a problem, and you, my dear, are going to save me." Maya almost laughed. She'd heard that line too many times before. Sarah Ahmed, heiress to the Ahmed fortune, all designer heels and disarming smiles, was the kind of woman who could turn a room with a glance. They'd been best friends since university, an odd pairing of opposites. "Sarah, it's midnight. Whatever it is, it can wait." "Nope, absolutely not. I need you tomorrow night. There's this blind date my parents set up, some business tycoon's son. They're practically salivating over the idea of an engagement." Maya rubbed her temples. "And you're not going." "Oh, I'm definitely not going, but you are." The words dropped like stones into the silence of Maya's office. "The offer." "No, Sarah, no way. I've had 12 cups of coffee, I'm sleep-deprived, and the last thing I want is to go flirt with some entitled rich guy on your behalf." "You don't have to flirt. You just have to go. Act weird. Scare him off. You're good at that." Maya sighed, spinning her chair to face the city skyline. "Why me?" Sarah hesitated, a crack in her usually breezy voice. "Because if I say no again, my father will cut me off, and this guy, Arman Khan, he's not someone I can afford to cross right now." Maya froze at the name. Khan, as in Khan Estates, one of the biggest real estate developers in the city, the kind of clients her firm had been begging to land for months. "Sarah, why does that name sound familiar?" "Because his family owns half of Dhaka, probably. Look, it's just dinner, one night. Wear something ridiculous, talk about how you collect cursed dolls or something. Make sure he never calls me again." Maya hesitated. It was insane, but something in Sarah's tone, the rare hint of fear, made her pause. "Please, Maya, I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important." Shadows in the past. Maya finally agreed, though unease coiled in her chest. She couldn't shake the sense that Sarah was hiding something. Why did the name Arman Khan make her pulse quicken? She'd never met him, yet the name felt like a whisper from a half-forgotten memory. That night, lying awake in her tiny apartment, Maya's mind kept replaying Sarah's voice, brittle around the edges. "What aren't you telling me, Sarah?" Outside her window, the city never slept. Somewhere in that sprawling network of lights was Arman Khan, the man whose life she was about to stumble into. A city of masks. The next evening, Sarah dressed her like a porcelain doll. "You need to look like me, glamorous, untouchable, but throw in something a little unhinged." Maya stared at her reflection. Smoky eyes, scarlet lips, a dress that cost more than her monthly rent. She hardly recognized the woman in the mirror. "I look terrifying," Maya mumbled. "Perfect. Now remember, act like you're allergic to commitment. Mention that your hobby is taxidermy or extreme couponing. Make him run." But beneath Sarah's jokes, Maya caught the flicker of something darker, fear. "Sarah," she said quietly, "who exactly is Arman Khan?" Sarah's smile faltered for just a heartbeat. "Just a man I can't afford to meet." The blind date. The restaurant was one of those rooftop places where the city skyline spread like a glittering ocean. Maya arrived early, her heart thundering against her ribs. Every instinct screamed at her to leave. Then the elevator doors opened, and she saw him, Arman Khan. Tall, immaculately dressed, eyes that missed nothing. He moved like a man who owned the ground he walked on. For one suspended moment, his gaze locked with hers, sharp, assessing, and strangely unreadable. Maya forced a bright, slightly deranged smile. Just get through this dinner. Scare him off. Easy. But Arman's lips curved into the faintest smile, as though he already knew all her secrets. And for the first time in years, Maya Rahman felt like she was the one being hunted. The elevator hummed softly as Maya ascended to the rooftop restaurant, her fingers twisting the strap of her borrowed clutch like a lifeline. Every floor that ticked past brought her closer to the man whose name had haunted her thoughts all night, Armand Khan. She had done exactly what Sarah told her to do, dressed wildly in a backless emerald dress with heels high enough to be classified as weapons, and smeared on the blood-red lipstick that made her feel like someone else entirely. Her earrings, oversized and gaudy, swung like pendulums with each nervous movement. The doors opened, and a wall of warm light and murmuring voices spilled out. Chandeliers glittered overhead like constellations, the scent of expensive wine and seared meat hung in the air. She could practically hear the thrum of money in this place. And then she saw him, Armand Khan. He was nothing like she expected. Broad-shouldered in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her yearly salary, he carried himself with a quiet authority that made people instinctively move out of his way. His dark eyes swept the room like searchlights, calculating, cool. But when they found her, something unreadable flickered there. Maya forced her lips into a too bright smile and strode toward him, channeling every ounce of Sarah's effortless poise. "Armand Khan, I presume," she said, extending her hand with exaggerated flair. "Sarah Ahmed, your nightmare for the evening." A muscle in his jaw twitched, amusement, irritation, before he took her hand, his grip firm, lingering a beat longer than necessary. "Miss Ahmed, I was beginning to think you'd changed your mind." If only, she thought. Opening moves. They were led to a secluded table near the edge of the rooftop, the city sprawling beneath them like a map of stars. A waiter poured wine. Maya didn't bother tasting it before taking a gulp. She remembered Sarah's instructions. Make him hate you. Make it unforgettable. So she leaned forward, propping her chin on her palm. "So, Armand, do you always drag women to over-the-top places like this, or am I just special?" Armand arched a brow, the ghost of a smile tugging at his mouth. "Would you prefer somewhere else?" "Oh, definitely. I usually take my first dates to karaoke bars, preferably the ones that smell like stale beer and regret." He chuckled, low and unexpected. "Noted. Perhaps next time, then." Maya blinked. Next time? She doubled down, telling him outlandish facts about herself. She had 3 pet snakes named Envy, Wrath, and Carl. She was deeply into extreme couponing and taxidermy. She believed aliens controlled the stock market. Through it all, Armand just watched her, his gaze steady and unnervingly focused, as if he were peeling away her words to see what lay beneath. "You are not what I expected," he said finally. "Oh, and what were you expecting?" "Someone predictable." Maya barked out a laugh, leaning back in her chair. "Well then, I guess I'm doing my job." Cracks in the armor. Halfway through the evening, Maya realized something was wrong. He wasn't supposed to enjoy this. Men like Armand Khan, perfectionist CEOs with too many zeros in their bank accounts, weren't supposed to laugh at her fabricated snake collection. Yet every time she tried to provoke him, that quiet amusement sparked in his eyes. When she accidentally knocked over her wine glass, Armand's hand shot out, steadying it before a drop could hit the tablecloth. "Careful," he murmured, his fingers grazing hers. The brief contact sent an unexpected shiver up her spine. Maya pulled her hand back like she had been burned, covering it with a sharp laugh. "Sorry, I'm just naturally clumsy. I once tripped over my own feet at a funeral. Very awkward." "I'll keep that in mind," Armand replied, his gaze lingering a fraction too long. A game of masks. By dessert, Maya was sweating under the weight of his scrutiny. She had thrown every trick in the book at him, and he remained unshaken, intrigued even. "So," he said casually, "what do you actually do with your time, Miss Ahmed, when you're not frightening potential suitors with stories about alien conspiracies?" Maya opened her mouth, faltered, then forced a smirk. "Wouldn't you like to know? Let's just say I live to keep people guessing." His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "I believe you." For a moment, the air between them shifted, something taut and unspoken crackling in the space. Maya looked away first, her pulse skittering. What is wrong with me? This was supposed to be easy. Annoy him, confuse him, make him run back to his mother. Instead, she felt like she was the one being unraveled. The twist. As the evening drew to a close, Maya fished for a polite excuse to leave, but before she could speak, Armand leaned back in his chair, studying her like a puzzle he had no intention of rushing. "You know," he said slowly, "I don't usually waste time on blind dates." "Oh, and how am I doing on the waste of time scale?" "You are not." He pulled out his phone, tapping something into it. "I'll have my assistant set up another dinner next week. I'd like to see you again, Sarah."
Maya's rehearsed protest died on her tongue. You want to see me again? Very much so. A dangerous spark. The elevator ride down felt endless. Maya leaned against the mirrored wall, her reflection a stranger in emerald silk and crimson lips. Armand Khan wanted to see her again, and not just anyone, Sarah Ahmed. As the door slid open, she caught one last glimpse of him across the lobby, a solitary figure framed by the city lights, phone pressed to his ear. For the briefest moment, his gaze flicked to her, and that unreadable expression returned, sharp, searching, almost predatory. Maya stumbled out into the humid night air, her pulse a staccato drumbeat. She had done everything right. She had played the part, and yet somehow she had failed. Armand Khan wasn't repelled, he was intrigued, and for reasons she couldn't explain, that terrified her more than if she'd succeeded. Maya's Monday morning began with the stale scent of burnt coffee and the shrill buzz of her office phone. Her head still throbbed from the blind date that refused to leave her thoughts. She had tried all weekend to shake the memory in Armand Khan, the weight of his gaze, the infuriating amusement in his voice, the way he'd said, "I'd like to see you again, Sarah," like it was a certainty, not a question. She shoved the thought away, burying herself in the comfort of routine. Sprawled across her drafting table were blueprints for the Khan Estates project, an ambitious renovation for one of the city's most prestigious real estate firms. If she could pull this off, her career would finally stop teetering on the edge of burnout. Maya, conference room, now, her manager Tarek barked from across the floor.
The room buzzed with nervous energy when she arrived. Tariq stood at the head of the table, fiddling with his tie. "Big news, team. We've landed our most important client to date, Khan Estates." Maya froze, the name slicing through her composure like a blade. "Khan Estates?" "Yes," Tariq said, oblivious to the panic crawling up her spine. "Their CEO, Arman Khan, will be overseeing the project personally. He's known for being exacting. But if we deliver, this could make our firm." Maya's pulse roared in her ears. Arman Khan, here, in this building, overseeing this project. She barely heard the rest, something about concept presentations and deadlines, as her thoughts spiraled. He can't find out. He can't know I'm Maya, not Sarah. If he connects the dots. The first encounter. Later that afternoon, the elevator doors opened, and the air shifted. Arman Khan stepped into the office. He was sharper in daylight, his presence sucking the oxygen from the room. Conversations faltered, pens stilled. "Good afternoon," he said, voice even but laced with authority. His gaze swept the room and landed on her. For a split second, his dark eyes narrowed, recognition flaring. Maya's breath hitched, her carefully constructed calm threatening to shatter. Then the moment passed. He looked away, addressing Tariq about the blueprints. Maya sat rigid through the meeting, acutely aware of every glance that flicked her way. Did he recognize her? Did he suspect? When it ended, Arman lingered by the door. "Miss Rahman," he said, his voice smooth but probing. "Yes, Mr. Khan?" "Interesting concepts. I look forward to seeing how your designs unfold." Their eyes met, a silent current passing between them, a challenge, a question unspoken. Maya managed a polite nod, her palms damp. Does he know? A double life. That evening, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Dinner, Friday, same place." Maya stared at the screen, dread knotting her stomach. She couldn't refuse without raising suspicion. To Arman, she was still Sarah Ahmed, the sharp-tongued enigma who had somehow piqued his interest. So the double life began. By day, she was Maya Rahman, lead designer on the Khan Estates project, careful to keep her professional mask intact. By night, she donned Sarah's persona, dining with Arman under the glittering lights of restaurants, where every glance felt like a test she was barely passing. At first, she thought she could manage the charade, but Arman was relentless, attentive, curious, peeling back her fabricated stories with unnerving precision. Every question he asked felt like a scalpel slicing through her defenses. "You're not what people expect of you, Sarah," he said one night, swirling his glass of wine. "Is that a compliment?" "It's an observation. You wear your armor well, but I wonder what's underneath." His words left her rattled long after the dinner ended. Sarah's complication. Meanwhile, Sarah herself seemed blissfully unaware of the storm brewing. Over brunch, she gushed about a man she'd met at a gallery opening. His name's Rafi, and he's, I don't know, different. Not like the others my parents keep throwing at me. He listens, Maya. He actually listens. Maya nearly choked on her coffee when Sarah showed her a photo. Rafi, the man leaning casually against Arman in the picture, was none other than his business partner and closest friend.
Sarah, that's Armin Khan's right-hand man, Maya said carefully. Wait, seriously? Sarah's eyes widened, then sparkled with mischief. Well, that explains the expensive watch. Do you think he'll mind if I keep seeing him? Maya forced a laugh, unease gnawing at her. If Armin ever finds out the truth about me and Sarah, tightening the net. As weeks passed, the lines between her identities blurred. At work, Armin began attending more meetings, his dark gaze often sending her across the room. Miss Rahman, he said one afternoon, pausing by her workstation, you seem distracted lately. Everything all right? Maya forced a professional smile. Of course, Mr. Khan, just focused on the project. But she saw it, the flicker of recognition in his eyes, like a hunter catching the scent of prey. Later that evening, dressed as Sarah, she sat across from him at another dinner. You seem distracted tonight, he remarked, echoing his earlier words. Just work stress, she lied, hoping he wouldn't hear the tremor in her voice. Armin leaned back, studying her with quiet intensity. You fascinate me, Sarah. It's like you're two different people, depending on the light. Her fork stilled. Does he know? The hook. One night, after a particularly grueling day, Maya returned home to find a small envelope slipped under her door. No return address, just her name in precise handwriting. Inside was a single photograph, her leaving the office earlier that day, exhaustion etched into her features. On the back, 3 words were scrawled. Who are you? Maya's breath caught, the walls of her carefully constructed life closing in. Was it Armin? Did he already suspect? Or was someone else watching her? Either way, the message was clear. Her double life was unraveling, and someone was pulling the threads.
Maya had always believed she was good at compartmentalizing her life. There was Maya Rahman, the exhausted but ambitious designer who lived on iced coffee and deadlines, and there was Sarah Ahmed, the untouchable socialite with a cutting wit and a wardrobe of power dresses. Now, the walls between the two were crumbling. By day, she hunched over blueprints under the scrutiny of Armin Khan, whose sharp mind missed nothing. By night, she dined across from him as Sarah, acutely aware of the heat in his gaze and the subtle shifts in his demeanor, curiosity edging towards something deeper. She was playing with fire, and every dinner, every lingering glance brought her closer to getting burned. A dangerous rhythm. The double life took its toll. At work, she found herself hyper-aware of Armin's presence. During project reviews, his gaze would settle on her, lingering just a second too long. Once, while she was explaining a design change, his hand brushed hers as he took the blueprint, and her pulse spiked. Miss Rahman, he said, voice low enough that only she could hear. You're trembling. Nervous about the presentation? She forced a smile. Just a long day, Mr. Khan. But in the evenings, as Sarah, the man across from her seemed different, softer, even amused. You look tired tonight, Armin observed during one of their dinners, his dark eyes searching her face. Long day of luxury shopping, she quipped, forcing a laugh. He tilted his head. You joke, but I can tell when you're hiding something. His words lodged under her skin like splinters. Feelings she didn't ask for. Maya told herself it was all part of the act, but somewhere between the tense design meetings and late-night dinners, something shifted. Armin Khan, the man she was supposed to repel, had a way of disarming her with a single unguarded smile. When he laughed, the edge in his voice softened, and when he listened, truly listened, it was as though she were the only person in the room. Worse, she began craving those moments. One evening, as they walked out of a restaurant, a sudden downpour forced them under the same umbrella. Rainwater beaded on his suit jacket. Their shoulders brushed, sending a jolt through her. You're quiet, he said. Just enjoying the rain, she murmured, though her heart pounded so hard she was sure he could hear it. She couldn't tell him the truth, that the closer he got, the harder it became to breathe beneath the weight of her own lies. Armin's suspicions. Armin wasn't blind. Something about Sarah Ahmed didn't add up. Her story shifted in subtle ways, her reactions sometimes too unguarded for someone raised in privilege. At the office, he found himself watching Maya Rahman, the quiet designer with the same spark in her eyes. She reminded him of Sarah in ways he couldn't explain, the same cadence in her laugh, the same fleeting expressions when she was lost in thought. One evening, after a meeting, he stopped her by the elevator. Miss Rahman, have we met before? Maya's heart stuttered. I don't think so, Mr. Khan. Armin studied her for a long moment, as though weighing unspoken thoughts. Strange, you remind me of someone.
Sarah and Rafi. While Maya's life descended into chaos, Sarah was thriving. She and Rafi, Armin's charming best friend, were inseparable. Their banter, full of teasing and playful arguments, became Maya's only source of levity. "He actually took me street food hopping last night," she gushed over the phone. "Me, in heels. I nearly broke an ankle, but it was worth it." Rafi, in contrast to Armin's reserved nature, was warm and easygoing. Yet there was a depth to him, a quiet loyalty that made Sarah feel seen in a way few people did. Maya couldn't help but smile at their budding romance and envy them for the simplicity of their connection. A fraying web. Every passing day, Maya felt the noose tighten. She juggled deadlines, endless design revisions, and Armin's probing gaze, all while maintaining the illusion of being Sarah. Then came the night that almost broke her. They were at yet another dinner, the city lights glittering beyond the glass windows. Armin watched her with unnerving stillness before finally speaking. "You know, Sarah, there's something about you I can't figure out." Maya forced a laugh. "Maybe that's a good thing. Mystery is attractive, isn't it?" Armin leaned forward, his gaze sharp enough to cut. "Or maybe you're hiding something." Her breath hitched. "Everyone hides something," she said lightly, praying he couldn't hear the tremor in her voice. Armin's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile, but he said nothing more. The letter. Later that night, back at her apartment, Maya found another envelope slipped under her door. No name, just her initials scrawled in ink. Inside, a photograph of her sitting across from Armin at the restaurant, taken through the window. On the back, a single line. "How long before he finds out?" Maya sank onto her couch, the walls of her double life closing in. Who was watching her, and how much did they know? A turning point. The next day at the office, Armin approached her unexpectedly. "Miss Rahman, I'd like you to accompany me to the Khan estate site visit this weekend." Maya's throat went dry. "Of course, Mr. Khan." As he walked away, she caught the faintest trace of a smile on his lips, the same one he wore when Sarah accidentally let something genuine slip. Maya's pulse thundered. Does he know? Is this a trap? For the first time, Maya wasn't sure if she wanted the truth to come out, or if she feared what would happen when it inevitably did.
The weekend site visit to Khan Estates was supposed to be routine. For Maya, it was a nightmare waiting to unfold. She spent the drive rehearsing professional updates in her head, willing her pulse to steady. By the time the black sedan pulled up to the sprawling estate, her palms were clammy and her throat dry. Armand Khan was already there, standing at the foot of the grand staircase, his suit immaculate despite the afternoon sun. "Miss Rockman," he said in that calm, even tone that always set her on edge, "walk me through the progress." She launched into her report, pointing out renovations, design adjustments, and upcoming milestones. Armand followed silently, hands clasped behind his back, eyes sharp but unreadable. Every now and then she caught him watching her. Not the blueprints, not the gilded interiors, but her. The slip. They entered the library, a cavernous room with floor-to-ceiling windows. Maya bent over a set of drawings, explaining the lighting plan. "We'll need to rework the placement to match your specifications, Mr. Khan. I can have a revised model to you by—" "Sarah," Armand said suddenly. The name hit her like a physical blow. She straightened slowly, turning to face him. "Excuse me?" Armand took a step closer, his gaze pinning her in place. "I said, Sarah. That's what you prefer to be called during our dinners, isn't it?" Her breath caught. The carefully stacked walls of her double life trembled. "Mr. Khan, I think you're mistaken." "Am I?" His voice was soft, almost amused, but the weight of it left no room for pretense. "You know, I wondered for weeks why I couldn't reconcile the two of you, the sharp-tongued woman who keeps me guessing at night and the designer who can't meet my eyes during the day. But it's you. It's always been you." The unmasking. Maya's knees threatened to give way. I can explain." "Don't bother," Armand interrupted, a smile ghosting across his lips. "I'm not angry." Her mind scrambled for purchase. "You're not?" "No." He took another step, the faintest trace of relief in his expression. "I thought I was going insane, drawn to two different women. Now I know it's just one." The air between them thickened, charged with unspoken truths. Maya's heart pounded, torn between terror and something dangerously like hope. "You're not mad that I lied?" she whispered. Armand tilted his head, eyes narrowing with quiet amusement. "You didn't lie. You protected a friend, and you gave me something I didn't know I was looking for. Someone real." Flight. Maya's relief was fleeting. Guilt crashed over her like a wave, cold and suffocating. "I can't do this," she said, shoving the blueprints into her bag. "I should never have gotten involved. I'll resign first thing Monday." Armand frowned. "You're quitting?" "I can't keep working for you, not after this. It's unprofessional. I'll send over all my files to Tarek." She turned to leave, but Armand caught her wrist, not roughly, but firmly enough to halt her.
Maya, he said, his voice low, urgent. Don't run from me. She froze, the sound of her real name on his lips sending a jolt through her. You deserve better than this mess, she said, her voice breaking. You deserve someone who's honest with you. Armand's grip softened, but he didn't let go. And I deserve the truth. All of it. No more masks. A dangerous choice. Maya pulled free, the weight of his gaze burning into her back as she fled the estate. The drive home blurred into a haze of guilt and fear. Her phone buzzed with messages she didn't dare open. Armand. Talk to me. Armand. I'm not letting you disappear. Armand. We're not finished, Maya. She tossed the phone aside, curling up on her couch like a wounded animal. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to disappear before the spiral consumed her. But beneath the panic pulsed something far more dangerous, the memory of Armand's voice when he'd said, "It's always been you." The Watcher. Late that night, another envelope appeared under her door. This time inside was a single sheet of paper with 5 chilling words. How much does he know? Maya's blood ran cold. Someone had been watching, documenting every slip in her facade. And now they knew Armand was closing in on the truth. The hook. The next morning, Maya walked into the office determined to resign. But as she approached Tariq's door, Armand stepped out of the conference room, phone in hand. His gaze locked on her, a flicker of something unreadable in his dark eyes. Relief? Triumph? Miss Rockman, he said smoothly. A word, please. The weight behind those words left no room for escape. Maya swallowed hard, her resignation letter crumpling in her hand. She was out of lies, and Armand Khan wasn't about to let her walk away.
Maya hadn't seen Armin for 3 days. She'd avoided every meeting, rerouted every email, and buried herself in revisions, hoping that if she stayed small enough, invisible enough, the weight of his gaze would fade from her memory. It hadn't. His voice haunted her in stolen moments. It's always been you. The knowledge that he knew, truly knew, burned like a secret branded into her skin. The confrontation. On the 4th day, there was no avoiding him. Maya turned a corner in the office hallway and stopped dead. Armin Khan stood at the end, suit immaculate, phone in hand. He looked up, dark eyes locking onto hers, and for one suspended heartbeat, the world narrowed to just the two of them. Miss Rockman, he said, slipping the phone into his pocket. We need to talk. Mr. Khan, Armin, he corrected quietly. You don't have to pretend anymore, not with me. Her carefully rehearsed excuses died on her tongue. I can't do this, she whispered. Armin closed the distance between them in 3 measured steps, his presence overwhelming. You can't keep running, Maya. Whatever story you've told yourself about me, about us, it's wrong. I don't care about the deception. I care about the woman who looked me in the eye that first night and didn't flinch. She swallowed hard. You were supposed to hate me. That was the plan. A faint smile touched his lips. Then I'm glad you failed. The wall she built. Later, they sat in the dim quiet of a corner cafe, far from curious eyes. Maya kept her gaze fixed on her untouched coffee. You think I can just forget all of it? The lies, the pretending? She said finally. No, Armin replied, but I'm asking you to see what's real. Whatever mask you wore, I saw you beneath it, and I fell for that woman. Maya's laugh was brittle. You don't even know me, Armin. Not really. Then let me, he said simply. His certainty terrified her more than his anger ever could. Family chains. At home, her mother's voice on the phone was another weight pressing down on her. Maya, you can't keep chasing dreams that lead nowhere. Find stability, find someone respectable. The words scraped raw against her frayed nerves. How could she explain that stability wasn't what she wanted anymore? That somewhere between the lies and half-truths, Armin Khan had become something she couldn't walk away from. Sarah's confession. That evening, Sarah appeared at her door, uncharacteristically somber. I'm sorry, she said before Maya could speak. I never meant for it to go this far. I asked you to take that blind date because I was scared, Maya, and I didn't think he'd see you. Maya sighed, sinking onto the couch. He saw right through me, and now I don't know what to do. Sarah hesitated, then said softly, maybe you stop hiding. From him, from yourself. When Maya didn't respond, Sarah added with a teasing smile. Besides, Rafi thinks you're perfect for Armin, and you know how annoyingly perceptive he is. A moment of clarity. The next time Maya saw Armin, it was at the Khan Estates project site.
He stood on the balcony, the city sprawling beneath them, the wind tugging at his tie. "Why me?" she asked quietly, the question spilling out before she could stop it. "You could have anyone, Armin. Why me?" He turned, his gaze steady, unwavering. "Because you're the only one who's real. The woman I fell for wasn't Sarah Ahmed, and it wasn't the perfect designer who sits across from me in meetings. It was you. Stubborn, brilliant, and infuriatingly honest when you think no one's looking." Maya's breath hitched. "I don't know if I can trust this. Trust us." Armin stepped closer, closing the last of the distance between them. "Then let me prove it, one day at a time." A push from friends. Later that night, Sarah and Rafi dragged her out for dinner. Rafi's easy laughter and Sarah's teasing banter filled the table with warmth, an anchor against the storm in her chest. "You're overthinking it," Rafi said with a grin. "Armin doesn't do things halfway. If he's in, he's in. And when he's in," Sarah added with a wink, "he's impossible to shake off. Trust me, I tried." Maya couldn't help but laugh, tension bleeding from her shoulders. Maybe, just maybe, they were right. The leap. Days later, Maya found herself standing outside Armin's office, her heart hammering. She could still turn around, retreat into the safety of her carefully constructed walls. Instead, she knocked. Armin looked up from his desk, surprise flickering in his eyes before softening into something else, something that made her chest ache. "Maya," he said simply. "I'm tired of running," she admitted, "and I'm tired of being scared." Armin stood, closing the distance between them in a few strides. "Then don't be," he murmured, and for the first time, she believed him. The hook. That night, as she walked home, another envelope awaited her on the floor of her apartment. No photograph this time, just a single line in the same precise handwriting. "You think you're safe now?" Maya's grip tightened on the paper, a chill crawling up her spine. Even as she let herself fall for Armin Khan, one truth remained. Someone else was watching, and they weren't finished yet.